William Callahan. He's a director of government and strategic affairs at the Blockchain Intelligence Group. Welcome to the show, William. So, will this be effective at stopping North Koreans from money laundering? You know, if you're only banning people in the United States from using Tornado Cash, what's to stop North Koreans from continuing to use it?
Right. Hi, Emily. Thanks for having me. Christine, thanks for having me today. Well, your question is, will it be effective in stopping the North Koreans? Probably they will find other ways to launder money, to steal money. However, it will put a great dent into their operations. It will send a message really across the world that the United States takes these mixers seriously and as a threat to national security.
Yep. We've seen Circle freezing smart contract addresses linked to blacklisted Tornado Cash usage. And so that is being done by various crypto firms. Though I will point out Eric Voorhees, a proponent of DeFi and a Bitcoin OG, tweeting, "I'm sure the bad guys will stop using Tornado Cash because it's illegal, just like they don't use illegal weapons, smuggle illegal drugs, or illegally launder money through every means they can find. Law-abiding Americans are the only ones hurt by this." I wonder what your thoughts are on comments like that.
I mean, look, yeah, I'm sure there's a point there to be made. Look, the bad guys have an advantage, right? That I always say they have an advantage over law enforcement is they have the time, they have resources, they have money to come up with different techniques, tools to commit crimes and to launder their funds. However, what we're seeing lately is law enforcement, global law enforcement agencies, not only in the U.S., are through data analytics programs and software are able to meet those challenges and hopefully beat them back a little bit, or hopefully put an end to them. These mixers, as we're seeing here, pose this threat to national security, and I believe this is what OFAC is telling, not only these criminal organizations in the world that they're going to take them seriously, they're going to find ways to shut them down. But we know that the bad guys will either find other methods to launder their monies, to secure their funds, to fund their operations, as we see with the North Korean groups funding North Korea and their weapons proliferation program. So this is an important step, but I think it's a message. Like again, the financial institutions, OFAC has this is not the first time, right, that they've put sanctions that affect financial flow, and it will have some effect to them until they learn or make new or develop new techniques.
So
I'm sorry,
what does this actually do?
Excuse me. I'm just wondering how you address the criticism that was alluded to in the tweet, which is that these mixers are also used by law-abiding Americans, and I'm just curious, like, what do you think that there are legitimate uses for these mixers, that just for protecting privacy, not necessarily for crime, and if so, are these sort of law-abiding Americans kind of like this, like, collateral damage in this crackdown?
Right. No, it's a good point that the whole privacy issue. What I've noticed through my career in law enforcement, privacy is not this complete absolute. Remember that the Constitution allows for reasonable search and seizure here. The government has a responsibility to take action when they see that this could pose threats to national security. So I think that's something that will still be worked out and worked on, is trying to balance that need for privacy. And yes, I do see in some areas, especially in some areas of the world where you don't necessarily want everyone to know, what you are making or what you have in the bank, that you do need some levels, some confidence of privacy there. But these mixers right now have been really shown to be this threat and need to be stopped. Now, we've also been trying to point out, something I've pointed out, is we can track when new wallets are developed and when they hit these mixers. And it seems that action needs to be looked at and taken there. So when a wallet is identified as being suspect or bad, and then it is converted into other wallets and then hits a mixer, we'll need to develop that technology and implement that into stopping those types of transfers.
So what does this actually do? I mean, in very real, practical terms, now that this is done, what will we see happen that will change the way in which law enforcement is able to crack down on money laundering? Will we see any substantial or any tangible changes or anything real at all to any of this?
Well, I believe so, and we saw that with narcotic sanctions back, I guess, in the late '90s and 2000s, when narcotics traffickers were sanctioned. Them and their families, their business entities couldn't operate in the U.S., and that really put a hurt on them. So what I think what we'll see are the people thinking about using these mixers, number one. I believe that this will extend beyond just the borders of the U.S., that legitimate, compliant exchanges throughout the world will take a second look when they see something hit a mixer like a Tornado Cash. And again, what is it that you want to do? You want to disrupt these transnational criminal organizations. You want to disrupt these ransomware organizations. You want to force them into having possibly to hold on to their funds, right? And cause them to do things that they may not normally do. Would that lead to a mistake? Would that lead to more opportunities for law enforcement? Those are also possibilities there. So yes, I see that this will have an effect. It will also draw attention to the mixers. And I think we'll force people who need that privacy to do it in a way where that is not a threat to national security.
Could you just tell us a little bit more about the sort of North Korea angle here? Like how much of this activity do we know for a fact is coming from North Korea? And how do we know this? Because yesterday there was some confusion. There were some tweets saying it was attributing to North Korea that were then deleted. And so if you could just clarify a little bit on North Korea's role in all this, that would be helpful.
Well, as we've seen, the Lazarus Group has been using the Tornado Cash to launder their funds. We've seen many of these hacks where the funds are moved from wallet to wallet. I've been tracking these and actually posting a number of these graphs on LinkedIn and my Twitter account to show that how these groups, once they exploit either the bridge or they hack into wallets or maybe an exchange, and the process of how they clean their funds. We have seen money launderers clean funds through many different avenues through the past, whether it be through traditional financial accounts, trade-based money laundering, black market pesos exchange. And this is something that allows us to look at it in real time. When we look at these analytics, blockchain analytics, we can look at it in real time and see where the flow of the funds go. But we are seeing, again, the North Korean groups use this primarily to launder and clean their funds.
One other question is, why Tornado specifically? There are a lot of mixers out there. Why has Tornado become such a big one, and why is it being the one that has kind of come under the official radar?
Right. No, it is a great question. Why Tornado? Now, we did see another mixer blender sanctioned, say, a month or so ago. We saw them sanctioned by OFAC. Tornado Cash has just become one of those go-to mixers. While those others, we'll probably start to see them pop up on our radar, I would say, over the next few weeks as exchanges shut Tornado Cash down or not want to use it. As I said, I think this will extend just beyond the U.S., and they will have to find other ways to do it as well. Tornado Cash just being the most popular one, it appears on the Ethereum network.
It might be the most popular one, but of course, as people have pointed out, you could just copy the code and start again, call it a different name instead of tornado, cyclone, or whatever it is, and just keep going. So what is this, again, this kind of like comes back to the question, what will this actually do? I mean, what's to stop people from just copying the code, renaming it, and launching again, and just starting this whole process and getting around the feds? I mean, ultimately, if you don't have them on your soil, it's really hard to stop them, no?
Yeah, there'll be some difficulty. I think one of the challenges to just copy the code then is to have the liquidity to pay out and to be able to do it. Remember, you're mixing with other people's money or other wallets, right? There's a level of trust that was built up in Tornado Cash. So again, that is something that, yes, just by copying the code, now you have to build up that layer of trust. You have to build up that liquidity to pay it out. So again, where you're asking about where does it affect, right? Does it start to put those hurdles between the bad guy and their money laundering operation and clean money? And again, we're looking at some of the similar things that have done in traditional finance, whether it be reporting requirements, whether it be the suspicious activity reports that are written, right? We're putting up some hurdles there, but will the criminal element attempt to find ways around it? Of course they will. And, law enforcement, federal law enforcement, global law enforcement around the agencies are working together in an effort to keep raising those hurdles higher and higher.
So will the enforcement actions be the key here? Because it is a decentralized technology. It is open source. I'll bring up a tweet from Roman Simonov, who's the creator of Tornado Cash, saying that my GitHub account was just suspended. Is writing an open source code illegal now? So, it's decentralized. It is out there. What of it?
Right. I mean, look, the action is what's going to be illegal, right, at some point, and that's what we have to look at. How is something used? These elements will try to take full advantage, and how they're going to exploit something. And again, it may come out as something that is perfectly legal. I'm not saying that these mixtures are. That was the intent. But what I'm saying is that, as technology develops, we're going to definitely have to balance that with national security interests. And come up with either sanctions, come up with the tools, the training for law enforcement to basically disrupt and dismantle these organizations.